Breeders' Cup winner, this historic performance was her championship moment.
This is the OTB Television Network.
Welcome back to Down the Stretch, everyone. Mike Veach to my left, I'm Mark Asano, and the spectacular Miesk and Freddie had, and Freddie won back-to-back Breeders' Cup miles, and now he's going for a training victory with Goldie Kova. Our thanks once again to Rick Dutrow for having joined us, and now to introduce our second special guest of the morning from Southern California. Here's Michael.
And a second special guest it is this morning here on Down the Stretch. It's a pleasure to welcome to this studio and our audience Christopher Paasch, who is the trainer of the outstanding juvenile filly Stardom Bound, who goes in the juvenile fillies next weekend. And Christopher, if you're there, welcome to Down the Stretch with Mark and Mike.
Well, thanks, guys. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Christopher, thanks for being with us today. A few questions here about her. You signed the ticket at OBS March for her, $375,000, a pretty good price, first crop Tappet. What did you like about her at the sale?
Well, I think her video, if somebody watched her video, it would speak for itself. She's just a big, long striding filly who just did it so easily that we were really impressed with, her only having the 1/8 of a mile work, and to come back and work 3/8 with the rider just sitting chilly on her and work 33 and change at OBS, which is, for me, an outstanding move for a young 2-year-old.
Chris, I hope you can answer this. If you can, it's okay. Who came up with this wonderful name?
I actually did.
I
had that name in the back of my mind for 4 or 5 years, and I just kind of sat on it and said, you know what, I'm going to wait for the right horse to come along, and hopefully the dummy's right for a change, and we were.
Pretty good batting average right now with her.
Yeah.
Might be one of those names that's reserved for 15 or 20 years. So, Christopher, as you prepared Stardom Bound for her debut, did she give you got her home from the sale and so forth, did she give indications that she was, in fact, going to be something special?
Well, I mean, I've cut my teeth buying 2-year-olds.
Okay.
And, so I'd kind of like to say that my forte would be 2-year-olds, and you can always tell a good horse when they get with other horses. You can just kind of see the way they stand out, and we pretty much knew right away that she was going to be a special filly. Just a matter of keeping them together and figuring out their minds and all that stuff. But when you put good horses with cheaper horses, you'll always see the standouts pretty quickly.
Well, Christopher, she's coming off a terrific victory in the Oak Leaf out there. And, when our audience picks her up, she's next to the last, top of the screen, the gray filly. My question here is not so much the race itself, but rather, were you expecting her to become such a stretch runner? We think of 2-year-olds in speed. She's a killer from behind.
Well, I've had several 2-year-olds, and we've worked them all together. Back in April and May, we were working them together. And I had her work in with a couple of horses, and I actually kind of made a few other trainers mad at me because they'd say, well, I thought we were working together, because when they'd break off the pole, she'd all of a sudden fall 8 or 10 back.
Yeah.
And then just come flying by him at the 8th pole. So, we kind of knew her running style. It wasn't hard to figure out. I've always told everyone I'm not the trainer of this filly. She trains herself, and I just walk around behind her looking busy.
That's really, really interesting. Well, it's a visual pleasure to see, to say the least. How does she take to her training, Chris? Does she like to go out in the morning? Has she got any habits?
It's funny. She loves the pony, and she loves to be with the pony. And she won't walk next to the pony. She wants the pony in front of her to follow.
Oh, okay.
And it's almost like he's clearing the path for her. It's getting to be, because she's getting more and more proud of herself with every race. But that's another thing. That's a whole other conversation. Do horses know when they're good and they win? And yes, they absolutely do. They got my vote. But she loves to go out with a pony, and when she turns to go by herself, she knows she's going to train.
Yeah.
And you'll see just this different horse will come out of her. She'll bow her neck up and just get real tough all of a sudden. And then as soon as you start to pull her up and put her back with the pony again, she lets it go right away.
Isn't that something? Well, before I send you over to my partner, Mark, final question for you. We're a week out, actually 6 days out. What's in store for the next few days, Christopher?
Well, she just worked 15 minutes ago. She just worked. They gave her a 59 flat, breezing, and she galloped out 11 and change. Her next, she'll be off tomorrow.
Okay.
And Monday and Tuesday, we'll just go easy with her this week, just jogs and light gallops, and then we'll ship over, and hopefully, the good Lord's willing, we'll get the job done.
Well, for my part, thanks for being with us, and here's my partner, Mark.
Christopher, good morning.
Good morning.
A couple of weeks ago, interviewed Mike Smith, and the portion of the interview concerning Stardom Bound, he talked about her being all legs. Would you describe for our audience, from a physical standpoint, what Stardom Bound is like?
Well, actually, he was with me when she worked this morning, because he worked a couple other horses for me, and he watched her work this morning. And his first comment about her when she walked out of the stall was, "Wow, she's starting to really fill out." She's just kind of like, until the last month or so, she was kind of like an eighth grader that was like 6'3", just kind of all legs and bony. And she's really starting to fill into herself now. She's starting to become a maturer looking horse. And I think everyone will be surprised next week when they see her. She's turning out to be an absolutely lovely filly.
Chris, Stardom Bound certainly won't be a long shot in the juvenile fillies next Friday, but you might say that, well, about a decade ago, you would have been considered a long shot to make it this far. Could you explain to our audience what I'm talking about?
Yeah, 1987, I was diagnosed with a rare disease called histiocytosis, which has since been renamed Langersel's disease. It's an extremely rare form of cancer, like leukemia, and it kind of hit me, ravaged my body pretty hard in the first 5 or 6 years of having it, and I've been in 7 cancer centers nationwide, and been told on 2 different occasions to have my things in order when I checked in, that I probably wouldn't be leaving. So I'm a long shot to be here. In 1995, they told me the longest anyone had ever lived with what was remaining of my lungs was 5 years. So